Strange tales, yet mirrors of human life. Hey everyone! Welcome to Encountering Chinese, Strange Tales from Liao Zhai. Today, I'm going to tell you 3 short stories. The first story is titled Ghost Wife. In Taiwan, there was a man named Pingyun, who shared a deep and loving bond with his wife. They were as inseparable as fish and water. However, tragedy struck when his wife fell ill and passed away. Devastated, Pingyun mourned day and night, completely consumed by grief, as if he had lost his very soul. One night, as he sat in sorrow at home, something unbelievable happened. His wife suddenly pushed open the door and walked in. Pingyun was stunned. "Where did you come from?" he asked in shock. His wife smiled gently. "I have become a ghost," she said. "Your deep love and longing for me moved Yama, the king of the underworld, so he allowed me to return and see you for a while." Overjoyed, Pingyun took her by the hand and lay down beside her, feeling as if everything had returned to the way it once was. From that night on, his wife came to visit him every evening, but she would always leave before dawn. Time passed, and more than a year went by. Throughout this time, Pingyun never once considered remarrying. His uncles and brothers, however, grew concerned that he had no heirs. They secretly urged him to take a new wife, fearing he would be left without descendants. Eventually, Pingyun gave in to their advice and arranged to marry a young woman from a respectable family. However, afraid of upsetting his ghostly wife, he kept this decision from her. As the wedding day drew closer, the ghost wife finally found out. Enraged, she scolded him bitterly. "I risked punishment from Yama just to be with you. And now you've broken our vows. Do you truly deserve my love?" Pingyun tried to explain, saying it was all arranged by his uncles and brothers. But his ghost wife was not convinced. She left in anger, her heart filled with resentment. Although Pingyun still deeply loved his ghost wife, he went ahead with the wedding to his new wife as planned. On the night of the ceremony, as he and his new bride lay in bed, the ghost wife suddenly appeared. She leapt onto the bed and attacked the new wife, furiously cursing, "How dare you take my place?" Terrified, the new wife scrambled up and fought back. The two women wrestled fiercely. Meanwhile, Pingyun, completely naked, crouched beside the bed in sheer terror, too afraid to intervene. Finally, as the first rooster crowed at dawn, the ghost wife had no choice but to leave. The new wife, still shaken, became suspicious. She believed Pingyun had lied to her and that his first wife had never actually died. Overcome with anger and humiliation, she even considered taking her own life. Desperate to calm her, Pingyun told her everything in detail. Only then did she finally believe that his first wife was, indeed, a ghost. The following night, the ghost wife appeared once again, standing by the bedside and staring intently at Pingyun. His new wife, terrified, cowered in the corner. This time, the ghost wife did not climb onto the bed. Instead, she silently sat at the head of it, reached out, and pinched Pingyun's flesh with cold, unyielding fingers. Her eyes burned with fury, yet she said nothing. For the next few nights, she returned without fail, filling Nye Pengyun with overwhelming dread. At last, an old man in the village, well versed in the mystical arts, stepped in to help. He carved several peachwood wedges and drove them into the ground around the ghost wife's grave. Only then did she finally vanish, never to appear again. The second story is titled General Huang. General Huang de Gong of Jingnan, before he earned fame and rank, once traveled to the capital with 2 scholars. On the journey, the 3 of them encountered a band of robbers. The 2 scholars, terrified, immediately dropped to their knees and hastily handed over all their valuables. Seeing this, Huang de Gong was furious. Though he had no proper weapon in hand, he did not hesitate. He grabbed a mule by its hind legs, lifted it high, and hurled it at the robbers. Caught off guard, one of the robbers was thrown off his horse as the animal collapsed beneath him. Seizing the moment, Huang de Gong lunged forward, striking the fallen man with his fists until he broke the robber's arm. He then retrieved the stolen goods and returned them to the 2 scholars. Deeply impressed by Huang de Gong's courage and strength, the scholars pooled their money and urged him to join the military. Taking their advice, he enlisted and soon distinguished himself in battle. Over time, he rose through the ranks, eventually becoming a high-ranking official, dressed in a python-patterned robe with a jade belt around his waist. This story reminds me of another. There was a man from Shaanxi, known for his immense strength and fearless nature. Though he never paid much attention to martial arts techniques, he had never lost a fight against even the most skilled fighters. Once, while passing through Hunan, he challenged a monk from the famous Shaolin temple to a match. The monk, humiliated by his defeat, stormed back to the temple and reported the incident to his master. The monks gathered to discuss the matter and eventually decided to host a banquet, intending to teach the Shaanxi man a lesson. When the feast was set, the Shaanxi man arrived as invited. At first, the monks served him tea and fruit, most of which were hard-shelled nuts, including walnuts with exceptionally tough shells, impossible for an ordinary person to crack open by hand. The Shaanxi man took one look at the walnut, casually placed it on the table, extended his index finger, and tapped it. Instantly, the walnut cracked open, revealing the nut inside. Seeing this, the monks of Shaolin Temple were astonished. They all expressed their respect for the man from Shaanxi, and after the banquet ended, they politely escorted him out of the temple. The third story is titled Veteran Statesman of 3 Dynasties. There was once a Grand Chancellor of this dynasty who had served as a prime minister during the Ming dynasty. However, in his youth, he had once surrendered to rebel bandits. Because of this, whenever people spoke of him, it was never without criticism and scorn. Later in life, he retired from government due to old age and returned to his hometown, where he built an ancestral hall. When the construction was completed, he arranged for several people to stand watch inside the hall overnight. At dawn, the night watchmen were astonished to find a plaque hanging inside, inscribed with the words, Veteran Statesman of 3 Dynasties. Next to it was a couplet that read, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Filial piety, brotherhood, loyalty, trust, propriety, righteousness, integrity. Strangely, no one knew when the plaque and couplet had appeared. Everyone found it puzzling, unable to decipher its meaning. Some speculated the first line is missing the number 8, which sounds like Huang Ba in Chinese, a homophone for bastard or turtle. The second line omits the word shame, suggesting shamelessness. This reminds me of another story. Once, Huang Qingqiu, a Ming Dynasty general, was ordered to lead a campaign in the south. After securing victory, he returned to Nanjing and prepared to hold a memorial service for the fallen soldiers. At that time, one of his former aides came to visit him, bringing with him a written piece. However, Huang Qingqiu had never been fond of reading essays, so he waved his hand and declined, saying, "I'm old now, my eyesight is failing, I really don't wish to read anything anymore." The man insisted. "Then allow me to read it aloud for you. You only need to listen." With that, he pulled the paper from his sleeve and began to read in a solemn voice. It turned out to be a eulogy written by Emperor Chongzhen of the Ming Dynasty. The emperor had penned it after hearing that Huang Qingqiu had died heroically in battle against the Qing forces at Songshan. When the reading ended, the man wept bitterly and took his leave. It was only then that Huang Qingqiu truly understood. He had already died long ago. Alright. That's all for today's Strange Tales, Ghost Wife, General Huang, and Veteran Statesman of 3 Dynasties. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please also encourage everyone to comment and share more. We'll see you in the next episode.